Hi, my name is Rubén Segura Guerrero, and I'm here to talk about Edgar Allan Poe, the writer of the book Cask of Amontillado. He was born in January 1989 and he died in October 7, 1849. He was an American writer, poet, and editor, best known for his short stories and his poems. Obviously, with his imagination, he captured the interest of the readers of his time. He also was a pioneer of scientific fiction. His most important books were The Raven, The Black Cat, and Annabel Lee, but his most important work was The Raven, which basically consists of an unknown narrator that laments the demise of his true love, Lenore, and he is visited by a raven that only repeats one single word, nevermore. This author lives in the 19th century. In this year, the Romanticism were the more predominant literacy. As well, The Cask of Amontillado was a book part of the epic genre, and as well is a mere short book, a tale, or a story.
Setting. The story tells us about how a maddening narrator called Montresor tries to get revenge on a friend, Fortunato, for some unexplained injustice. The readers learn that Montresor lures him into the catacombs to try a cask of Amontillado, and then seals him away to die there. This plot, so relatively straightforward, leads the readers into an experience of pure horror, and the story setting contributes greatly to this atmosphere. First, there's the carnival. This festival gives Montresor an excellent opportunity to not only appear in disguise, but to locate his inebriated companion and lure him into his deadly lair. Carnival is a time for celebration and happiness for everybody, and for Fortunato to enjoy the pleasures of the season with his wife and friends. But in the tale, it is time for revenge and death, because by the end, Fortunato is in precisely in the atmosphere of a carnival. Montresor informs the readers that when he first encounters Fortunato with revenge on his mind, it is about dusk, one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season. As the readers are already informed that Montresor plans to get revenge on Fortunato, the setting of dusk creates a sense of darkness, and with that, all the fears that may follow. Next, we have the catacombs. The two men find human remains strewn over the catacombs, that underneath Montresor's house, making this a very macabre setting. As they walk further down into the catacombs, Montresor notes, we had passed through walls of peeled bones, with casks and puncheons intermingled, the inmost recesses of the catacombs. Some of the remains have been removed from their burial chambers, so there is room for burying Fortunato alive. Montresor describes the scene. The bones have been thrown down, and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. When he begins building the wall around Fortunato, Montresor reports tossing the bones about to accomplish the tasks. Montresor sits on his mound of bones to take pleasure on Fortunato's screams, saying, the noise lasted for several minutes, during which that I might hearken to it with the more satisfaction. I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. The other aspect I'm gonna cover is the nitre. That is more likely referring to potassium nitrate, which is found in caves and soil and caused by an abundance of decomposing organic life. So the nitre is an ode to corpses that decompose in these vaults. Nitre also worsens respiratory illnesses. That is why Fortunato's cough doesn't improve. Montresor plays the concerned friend as they descend further and further into the vaults. The nitre, he notes. See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. But Fortunato insists on going farther.
So the background for the Cask of Amontillado is that it is set, first of all, the time is set in a carnival, which is a period before Lent, which is a Christian tradition in which one gives up various enjoyments. This is really similar to fastening, I think it's called, that we do normally, in which someone has to get away from things they find pleasing or they get enjoyment from. But then the actual story carries out in underground catacombs, and this was not weird for Fortunato because he was promised to taste Amontillado, a very fine wine, and back in the day they obviously didn't have the technology for refrigerators, so instead they used to store wine underground where it would be cool and well preserved. That is why it wasn't weird at all for Fortunato to be invited to taste Amontillado underground. Now, first of all, what is a catacomb? A catacomb was an alternative to cemeteries that was invented back in Italy, where most of the time bones of the dead were stored in the walls, or sometimes their body remains are put on the walls. Another fun fact about catacombs were actually used normally by people that were really wealthy, and in this case, and our narrator here is actually from a really wealthy family that even has a motto of, and it's so that proves they're really rich.
The Cask of Amontillado is a story that has too many themes, but here I'm going to talk about 3 of the most important, in my opinion. The first one, revenge. Revenge is the emotion that has a protagonist, and the emotion that makes the story go on. We're introduced to the story with this quote: "The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as I best could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge." Our protagonist had a limit, and Fortunato reached it. So, he was going to make a punishment for Fortunato. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. And the punishment was extreme. Super extreme. He tortured Fortunato till death. And that's a thing that only a mental illness person will do. With no regrets, obviously. That leads us to our second theme. Mental illness. And our protagonist, obviously. Our protagonist isn't that of a normal person because he's super intelligent. He has no regrets on the punishment he's going to make on Fortunato. And the way he does, it's so insane. He uses the words to make Fortunato go to the place he's going to do the punishment. My dear Fortunato, you're luckily met. How remarkably well you're looking today. And we can't blame Fortunato in trusting him, because Fortunato thought that this was a good person, a friend, and when we think of a friend, we think in someone trustful that will not make damage to us, and that's the opposite of our protagonist. That's ironic. Our third theme is irony. The whole story is a big irony, because even if we think that they are friends, our protagonist wants to make damage to Fortunato. And Fortunato thinks, oh, we're going to make friend stuff. We're going to prove wine and all of that. We're having a good time. And that isn't true.
The Cask of Amontillado has 2 main characters, Montresor and Fortunato. Montresor is the narrator. He's a cold, vengeful man that doesn't forget an insult. He's also very clever too, as he plans up all until the minimum detail. The thing is that he uses his intelligence for the bad. He belongs to a family called the Montresors, whose motto is Nemo me impune lacessit. No one injures me with impunity. And that's why we see that Montresor wants to hurt Fortunato, because he won't let someone insult him without being punished. On the other hand, we have Fortunato, who is a proud lover of wines that in the history doesn't even look that he cares about the world surrounding him, even without being drunk.
He belongs to the Masons, a social organization with secret rituals inside, and we just get sympathy with him because he's the one being tortured. Here we see the two sides of the coin, one that is always thinking of what's coming next, and someone that always thinks that everything is fine.
The Cask of Amontillado starts with Montresor, the main character, explaining how he's about to take revenge on Fortunato after he has insulted his honor. Afterwards, Montresor approaches Fortunato during the carnival, casually telling him that he's going to ask Lucchesi, Fortunato's rival in wine tasting, to taste a very rare wine he has bought for the carnival. This wine was named Amontillado. Fortunato, not wanting to give up such an opportunity, insults Lucchesi's skill and instead offers to taste the wine himself, assuring Montresor that anything that he was doing wasn't that important after all. Then, they arrive at Montresor's house, which, due to the carnival, is empty from all the staff. Then, they pass into Montresor's old cellar, and once there, Fortunato suffers from a coughing fit. Montresor offers Fortunato to go back to the carnival and instead asks Lucchesi to taste the wine. However, Fortunato declines, and instead Montresor serves him one of his bottles of wine so as to continue their journey. They continue their way down Montresor's catacombs, while Fortunato drinks yet another 2 bottles of wine and suffers from more coughing fits. Montresor, all the while, makes several weird allusions and jokes seemingly without a real meaning until they arrive to the bottom of Montresor's cellar, where there are only niches on the walls and bones on the floor. Fortunato, cautious, asks Montresor where is the Amontillado, to which Montresor tells him to look in the niche right in front of them. Once Fortunato has reached the niche and realizes there's nothing but chains and walls, Montresor quickly uses the chains to bind Fortunato to the wall. While Fortunato still drunkenly wonders what's going on, Montresor quickly fishes from a pile of bones his stone mason tools and starts walling up Fortunato. Fortunato screams, pleads, and asks Montresor to let him go, to which Montresor simply answers by finishing his work and walling up Fortunato in his cellar, where, according to Montresor, he is lying up to date.
In every story of your interactive reader book, you use text analysis skills or reading skills. In this story, The Cask of Amontillado, we used the mood skill. The mood is created by the setting and the imagery. These are created mainly by the 5 senses described in the story. For example, the foul smell of the trash at the other corner, or the horror and the vision or sight, the horrifying sight of blood all over the floor. Then listening would be the terrifying screeching sound of the wind. Afterwards is the taste, for example, the juicy taste of orange, for example. And then the imagery is, the mood is what sets the feeling that you get while reading the story. For example, Cask of Amontillado tries to use a really creepy mood in order to give readers the feeling that maybe the drunk man Fortunato gets while walking through the catacombs, while describing every little part of the catacombs. It's mostly by eyesight, but he also sometimes used elements of smell, and very few times used the sense of taste. He also used the sense of hearing a lot. The setting is more of the place it takes place in. For example, this story actually takes place in a carnival, which is like a festival of pastimes in which people use masks to hide their faces in order so they could do anything they wanted, but they wouldn't be recognized.